Probably my favorite aspect of New World Aeternum in the revamp is character creation, specifically the new archetypes that they've added, which allow you to sort of stylize your character in a certain way. The abilities don't matter so much as the look of the character, because the abilities, once you get into the game, you can take any ability in the game, you can level it up, you can have any of the weapons, you can have all of the weapons if you want to. But that initial grouping of skills does help new players take their first steps into the world and say, oh, this is how this works. Okay, I understand this. Okay, now I can branch out and do all these other things. But also having that archetype there means you get a chance to see some really cool cosmetic gear, which for players like me is a big deal. I'm a big fan of cosmetics, and anything that a game can do to give me agency over the cosmetics of my character is going to be a game that I want to put a significant amount of time into because it makes me feel attached to the character. So the archetype change, where you can now have these different looks for your character, is a much needed, in my opinion, much needed change compared to this system the way it was before. Because before, and it's been, a few years since I played New World at launch, but when the way I remember it originally was you logged into the game and you were sort of a generic adventurer and you started picking skills and abilities, and then you would just find gear as you go along, and that gear would change the way your character looks. Now, obviously, you can still do it that way if you prefer, but with this new archetype system and the transmog system on top of that means that you could start off with this really cool looking set of gear and then keep that gear set, if you prefer, your whole playthrough by just transmogging it. Every time you get a piece, it essentially works a lot like many other games. Most recently, I'm thinking of like World of Warcraft, because uh, this one works. Whereas once you unlock something, it's then in your repertoire of your wardrobe of things you could transmog to, but you also have that base starting gear from your archetype choice. I did the archer, the ranger this first time through in the beta, because when I originally played, I did a ice gauntlet and rapier build, which is in here by the way. But I think for the launch of the game, I'm probably going to go with the musketeer, just because I think the musketeer looks really, really cool. And I like the idea of a rapier and a musket. Of course, like many other players, I would love it if they added pistols to the game, because a rapier and a pistol would be even cooler. But it's all good. It's all good. I'm patient. I got lots of other games to play, and if they patch it in one day, I can be an even happier camper than I am right now. But I like when games do the archetype system in this way. I'm also thinking back to playing Starfield, where when you start the game, you basically pick a background, you get three skills, and then those are the three starting skills you have, but you can then go forth and learn every other skill in the game if you want to take the time to do so, and it's the same system here. So don't think of the archetypes as limitations. They're also not class builds, because it's still complete freedom to choose what you want to do once you get into the game. This is essentially just pick something that you think looks cool and has a couple of weapons that you think sound pretty interesting to play around with. Go run the new tutorial, which by the way is phenomenal. I got another video coming out on that new tutorial. Um, Go play that, play around with these two new abilities, upgrade a couple of pieces, see if you like this. And if you do, then use that as the building blocks to then form whatever build you want to have as you get deeper and deeper into the game. Because this is a classless system. It is based entirely on what stats do you pick, what weapons do you want to use, and the weapons and stats all tie in together, which is a really fun way to do things, because the stats don't really per se govern the build. They're more around taking your stats and putting those points into things that are going to support the weapons that you're using for the choice that you've made as you continue to play the game. But I'm a big fan of this change. It is a way to get new players into the game quickly and easily, so they're not fumbling around. Because with the base game, there was definitely a lot of fumbling from people who didn't know what they were doing and who had never played a game like this before. And with with Amazon bringing New World Aeternum to the consoles as well as updating the PC version for Aeternum, the console edition of the games, console editions of the game, I should say, console players have, as a general rule, have a different way of approaching things than classic old school MMORPG players do from the PC. Because if you've been around long enough, like I've been, we've played a lot of MMOs over the years, and we've gone through a lot of character creators, and we're used to that whole, okay, we're going to drop you off in a place with nothing, and you're going to start from scratch, and you're going to build it up as you go. And that doesn't matter so much because we've played 25, 30, 40 other games that are like that, and so we already have sort of a game plan in mind of going, okay, well, I liked this in the other games I play. As an example, I love ranged builds, so I typically will play archers in many games that I play. I also like in CRPGs in any case, I love the thief build with, being able to open locks and disarm traps and pickpockets. I love that in my CRPGs, so I will traditionally play a rogue in my CRPG runs. But as far as MMOs go, I do love my ranged characters. So the ranger slash hunter slash archer almost always gets a first pick from me. So any game that I play, I gravitate towards that as the first thing that I'm going to do because I know it. It's something I've done before. And so even if the abilities are called, you know, fire bloom versus fire arrow versus fire rope, whatever, if I look at the description and it says your arrow does this, I'm like, oh, that's like that ability over here. But console players don't necessarily have that because, especially considering what a tournament is, the evolution of this game, it has gone it was always an action based game, an action combat game, but now it's definitely leaning hard into that action RPG set within an MMO space. And so action RPG players don't necessarily want to spend 15 hours in a character creator and then get dumped into a game and try to figure things out. I'm not saying all don't, some people do. But the goal here with the new archetype system is to make things as streamlined as possible, to get people into the game as quickly as possible, to get them enjoying the game and playing the game, as opposed to being confused as what am I supposed to do now? So for my vote, I'm a big fan of the archetype change that they made to New World and the new selection. I'm going to be playing a musketeer. I would love to hear from you about what you're going to be playing on your run of New World Eternum when this drops on October 15th. I will be multi-streaming, as always, on YouTube and Twitch. We do 2 streams a day, 9 a.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Mountain, and I play a lot of games. So we got quite a few to get through before we get to New World Eternum. So hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe, happy gaming. Can't wait to see you guys in game.